For tutorial 2 in chapter 2, again, I'm just going to be creating a sketch for this. So I'll go to File, New, click Sketch, and this is chapter 2, tutorial 2. And once that brings up my new drawing window, I can begin drawing my sketch. And again, I'm always pretty much going to do 2 lines to get started with. So in this case, I'm going to draw the L that represents the main size of this, and since those have equal lengths, I'm going to drag this out until I see an L symbol appear. Now both line segments have that L on them, that means that they're going to be equal lengths. So now I can change that to what it's supposed to be, which is 360. So now that I have this in place, I can begin to draw the rest of my shape in. And I'm just going to go with a rough shape. So we'll draw this over, down, over, and what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm not accidentally assigning constraints. As I move this line over, I can see an L appear there. Well, I don't want it to be the same length as that. Here I can see another L appear, and again, I don't want it the same length as that. So I want to move over far enough that it doesn't give me any of those. Now, on the way back up, I can use an L right there because those are going to be the same length. As I come up here, I'm not going to use any constraint here, but then as I go up I can use that L because those are going to be the same length. And then I just want this to come over far enough to clear everything, and then I'm going to have it go down over until I see the 2 green lines indicating that they're lined up, and then I can close this off. Now I've got to do a lot of dimensioning for this one to now be correct. But there's some constraints that I can place first that'll make my life a little bit easier. First of all, I can do equal between here and here. That's going to kind of set me up to have everything a little bit easier when I actually get into this. I can do a horizontal constraint between that point and that point. What that's going to do is line those 2 things up so that they're always horizontal. I can use that horizontal method again down here, where I can say horizontal between this point and this point. Now those 2 points are always going to be lined up. So I've got my 360 dimension, and now I want to go ahead and get into the rest of the dimensioning in here to make sure that I've got everything correct. So rather than placing dimensions right now, I'm going to work with my weak dimensions first. So I'll double click this one and change it to 140. I know that this dimension right here is going to be 120. I'm going to click on normal dimension because I want a dimension between here and here. Middle click to place it, and I want that one to be 50. And then I can double click on this one, make it 231. The angular dimension between here and here is going to be 120. Double click this dimension here, which is going to be 100. And now everything seems to be lined up good. The only thing I have is I have one additional weak dimension, which is this 318.98. So there's something in here that I still need to dimension to make sure that that one is correct. So I'm just looking, I've got my 140, my 50, my 120. Let me go ahead and put in the other dimension between here and here of 120. Okay, it says that I do not need that, so I can delete that one. So what I'm doing now is, again, I'm just trying to figure out which dimension may be missing or which constraint may be missing to get all of this to line up the way that it's supposed to line up. So maybe if a horizontal constraint were placed between here and here. Okay, it says it doesn't need that. Let me try a horizontal constraint between here and here. Again, it doesn't need it. So, in looking at this, again, if I take a look at this dimension right here, there doesn't seem to be anything that I'm actually missing when you look at the dimensions in the book. I seem to have everything in here that I need to have in here. But I still have this one weak dimension. If I change this to, say, 320, I'm just going to change this, 330, just to see what it does. And what it appeared to do is it changed the thickness of the bottom down here. And it looks like that's not a dimension that we were given in the book. So that's actually, I'm going to look through the chapter to see if there's another place where that should be. And it looks like the dimension that is supposed to be the height of this base, it looks like it is supposed to be 50 based on the dimensions given. It shows that it's the same length as this line segment. So it really all depends on which sketch you look at for this one. But to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and I am going to put a normal dimension on this line segment right here of 50. Like I said, it wasn't really called out in the book, but we'll go ahead and make it 50. That way we don't have any weak dimensions left on our object. And I just saw that this line here is dimensioned at 50, so I could have done that and it would have all worked out the same. So this is tutorial 2 in chapter 2. I can go ahead and save this and submit it.